Good morning, Venters. I hope you guys are having a wonderful start to your day. Day 8 without sugar, still feeling awesome. The longer you go without sugar, it makes you wonder why the heck you saw it in such high esteem, and you forget that's because it's addictive. When you're eating sugar, the only thing that happens is you want to eat more sugar. As you get away from it, you slowly get to the point where you barely want to eat at all, and I think that's the key to losing weight. You have to have long periods of time where you're not stuffing your face. This is an experiment in progress because I'm doing it now. And by the way, if you guys do it with me, I'm pretty sure you'll have the same results. The first couple days, a little bit miserable, nothing too bad. And then once you get 4 or 5 days removed from it, you start to realize that, hey, I'm not attracted by it as much. Now, don't get me wrong. If I had a piece of cheesecake right now, I would probably jump right back into eating it. But again, I think that's because it's addictive. What I want to talk about is the fear around cognitive diminishment. And what that says is that as AI becomes more advanced, we as humans might become overly dependent on it. And because it's so creative in the fact that if you need something done art-wise or music-wise, you could spend hours on it yourself, or you could have AI kind of create something for you in a couple of seconds, and before you know it, you're losing your ability to be creative. Another thing that artificial intelligence does is it kind of kills your memory thinking skills and your critical thinking skills pretty soon. Whenever you have a question, instead of being curious, which is our human nature, and learning about the answers, a lot of times you just ask ChatGPT, or at least I do, and I'm sure millions of people are just like me doing that same thing. So it's ultimately the idea that as AI becomes more advanced, we as humans become overly dependent on it, leading to a decline in critical thinking, creativity, and even basic problem-solving skills. One of the things that really scared me over the last, let's say, 20 years is that each and every one of us used to have a memory bank in our head of about 20 phone numbers. I know that seems impossible, but think about it. You knew your grandparents, you knew your parents' phone number, you knew your house number, you knew your handful of friends and a couple of work numbers. Now, we don't know any of those numbers. Literally, even the important people in our life, many of us don't even know how to reach them if we didn't have their phone number pre-programmed into our phones. And you guys know it's true. Now, that's just the things that we're able to notice. But because we don't use our memory very much anymore, what's to say we haven't lost a lot of other things that we used to memorize? If memory is a muscle, so to speak, and we're letting it atrophy, then there's probably a lot of memories that we're going to end up losing in the future that's probably going to be on par with Alzheimer's and dementia. God, wouldn't that be scary? You get to a point where the upcoming generations of people are just going to have a weaker and weaker ability to memorize things. There was this book that I read, and I think a couple of you guys read it. It was from back in the day, and I think it was called Mega Memory. Isn't that sad? It's a book on memory, and I can't even remember its name, but I think it was called Mega Memory. And it was basically saying that there's fun ways that you can memorize lists of hundreds of items, and believe it or not, even thousands of items. You know, like a grocery store list, right? What happens when you want something from the grocery store? You write it down on paper, or maybe you record, it with your voice, or maybe you type it into your phone, whatever. But technically speaking, let me give you an example. Let's say there were 5 items that you had to remember to buy. And remember, you can make this list as long as you want, but this is a fun game if you guys want to try it. So let's pretend like you had to buy a tube of toothpaste. So what you could do is you could picture a tube of toothpaste in your imagination, and make it as fun as possible. On that tube of toothpaste, put 2 eyes and a mouth, so it literally looks like a toothpaste man. right? And let's say in addition to toothpaste, you had to go ahead and buy a roll of toilet paper. So now on that toothpaste man, I want you to put an arm out just like this, like a little stick figure arm. And in one arm, I want you to have him holding a roll of toilet paper. So now we have a toothpaste and toilet paper. Let's go ahead and get some milk and eggs. So that toilet paper, you could actually make it in the shape of an egg, right? So now you have this toothpaste man holding a roll of toilet paper that is shaped like an egg, and you can almost picture it. On that egg, there is a M for milk. So again, you got this toothpaste man, he's holding a roll of toilet paper, it happens to be shaped like an egg, and on that egg, picture a big red M for milk, okay? And then the final one will be, let's say, pork chops, right? So in his other hand, you could show a little picture of a baby pig. So now let's try to memorize that real quick, and then we'll see if we can memorize it again towards the end of our walk. We've got a toothpaste man signifying toothpaste. He's got an arm on his left side holding a roll of toilet paper. This roll of toilet paper is shaped kind of like an egg instead of a cylinder. And on that egg, there's the red letter M. And then in Toothpaste Man's other hand, he has a little baby pig. The baby pig is pork chops. The red M is milk. The shape of the toilet paper is oval like an egg. And then of course there's the toilet paper and the toothpaste. Let's see if we can memorize those 5 items. That's what the book was about, and it gave you strategies on how to memorize lists. That was a list of 5 items, but you could in theory go up to thousands of items. Me and my buddy Don, we both read this book, and we both actually went through a list of 100 items each in order. And believe it or not, you can actually go forwards or backwards with this. So there are ways where you can actually train your brain to memorize a lot of things. Now, other than just for fun, I never really put it into practice too much, other than just the novelty of it. But the point is, if I were to ask any of you guys, can you remember 5 or 6 phone numbers off the top of your head? A lot of us would struggle with that. I know my phone number, and I know 1 or 2 family members' phone numbers by heart, and that's about it. And I haven't memorized phone numbers, just like you haven't memorized phone numbers, in probably close to 20 years. If we ever lose the ability to use our cell phones, a lot of us are going to be going out buying some sort of notebook to keep track of our phone numbers, because we just probably can't even fathom doing it with our memory. All right, so we were just talking, we weren't even thinking about the toothpaste man. But I want you guys to remember the picture, and you could have made it different, by the way. Those are the 5 items: the toothpaste, the toilet paper, the eggs, the milk, and the pork chops. You can make any type of picture up you want in your mind, but again, we'll let that rest for a while and we'll come back to it later. But now notice, instead of a list, all I have to memorize is this crazy toothpaste character. So it's fun and it's effective. One of the things that's also scary about cognitive diminishment, I don't know why I can't say that darn word, is if AI handles all of our decision making, we might stop thinking for ourselves. So for example, when you and I go to YouTube, very few of us even bother typing something into the search window anymore. I still do about 10-15% of the time when I'm looking for certain topics. But I'd imagine a lot of us don't use that search window at all. We just go with what they recommend that we'll like because they know what we'll like. It's kind of scary if you think about it, because it's literally making our brains less active. So we're basically becoming zombies. God bless it. Get your shoes on and walk so that we can de-zombify the world. I love walking for that reason, by the way. Walking is the closest thing to taking me back to 1985, November 5th, 1985. One of the things that we don't really talk about as we get closer to our 50s is a lot of us men and a lot of women, we start to run out of those natural chemicals and natural things in our body that make us who we are, right? Estrogen, testosterone. And what happens is, a lot of times, you'll see these pictures of like Robert Kennedy Jr., right? These real big, buff, muscular, older guys. And it's like they're obviously hyped up on testosterone. When you start adding external testosterone, and by the way, I don't blame you if you want to go back to feeling young and youthful and healthy. I don't blame anybody that wants to go on TRT or HRT, whether they're a man or a woman, right? I don't blame you. It's a blessing that we have those things out there. But once you start taking those external testosterones and stuff, your body kind of becomes atrophied from the standpoint of you no longer start really making it on your own, at least not as well. And even young people that are on testosterone and stuff, and what I mean by young people is, guys, there's some 20 and 30-year-old kids that are taking hormones and testosterone and steroids and stuff. Anything that affects your body's chemistry and gives it a crutch, it can hurt you long term. So again, it's wonderful that 50 and 60-year-old men have testosterone and women have hormone replacement. But you want to put yourself in a situation where hopefully you can avoid having to take that for as long as possible. And so by eating better, by avoiding the sugars, drinking water, coming out daily for a walk, I'm a firm believer that it keeps us younger for longer. I really feel that way. Can I prove it? No. Is there science that backs up that if you walk, you're going to probably live a little bit longer? Yeah, there is science out there that says that. They do have data that shows that people that walk tend to live a little bit longer than those that are just kind of sitting around doing nothing all day. But again, let's challenge ourselves. Start to memorize things. Start to use your brain. Go buy Sudoku books. Go buy crossword books. Fill those out. Keep your brain active. You know, some people love trivia. Maybe there's a reason you love trivia. Maybe that's your brain's way of saying, I like thinking. Go do trivia. Do whatever you can to keep your brain and mind active. Can I get an amen? You remember people would say, hey, go down 3 lights. You're going to see the girl with one leg. When you see the girl with one leg, 3 lights down, she's going to be on the right side. Make a left, go down 2 more miles, and there you'll be at your destination. We used to be able to take direction and find places, right? Go south down the I-17, hook over to the 202 East. You'll be there in a couple minutes, right? We used to be able to go and figure out directions on our own or with the help of others. Now, most of us just use maps or Waze, right? Different applications that literally tell us how to go from one point to another while we're driving. Now we let our GPS say, hey, turn left 200 feet ahead. And sometimes those things are wrong. I've actually heard stories of people driving into like little man-made lakes and stuff because their GPS was wrong. By the way, how many phone numbers do you guys have memorized? I'd be willing to bet most of us barely know our own phone number. Another scary effect that I've noticed is the attention span. It's so much easier for people to click on and enjoy something that's 30 seconds or a minute. We used to take pleasure in reading books that took us weeks to finish. We used to take pleasure in watching mini-series and things that took a long time. And yes, there's going to be people out there that say, Jesse, I watched Game of Thrones. I watched Yellowstone. I watched this, that, and the other, right? I can still enjoy those things. We used to always all enjoy those things. There's a certain segment of the public that barely has any attention span anymore. And again, I think it's all this technology and AI. I think it's pushing us down this pathway where in the future we're all going to be brain dead zombies, basically. Could you imagine finding out that your doctor that you've been seeing, via your phone, these virtual doctor appointments? What would you do if you found out that Dr. Jones wasn't even a real human being? Wouldn't that be crazy? To find out that some of us have doctors that aren't even real, it's just a picture on a screen? Who's to say that that's not a reality now? You can get therapy online with your phone. Wouldn't that be crazy to find out that your therapist is just an AI generated person that's been talking to you for years? Oh my God. For only $49? Oh my goodness. Here's a question I have for you. You have the ability for AI and a robot to do surgery on you without a doctor, or you could have it done the old school way where a surgeon literally cuts into your body with his tools and with his eyes and his senses, right? I think at least half of us would probably choose AI and the robot, because the AI and the robot is probably going to be a little bit more precise. Even when I had my double hernia surgery, my surgeon did it, but he did it from behind a computer screen, and he used the diminishing robot. Now, before you think that sounds bizarre, and by the way, it is a little bizarre, but the scars that I had after my double hernia surgery were literally the size of Tic Tacs. Whereas if you have traditional hernia surgery where they cut you open in the whole 9 yards, you're probably going to have a little bit bigger of a scar, and you're probably going to have a little bit longer of a recovery time. Guys, it only took me a week or two to recover. I didn't have to take any antibiotics, which I thought was bizarre, and I didn't have to take any pain medication. Now, I don't want you to think that that means that it didn't hurt. It hurt like heck, but I was able to get through that pain, thankfully, with ibuprofen. Could you imagine going through a surgery without any antibiotics or ibuprofen, simply because the machine has the ability to cut such a small little scar so that you don't have to basically traumatize the area to have a successful surgery? It's really amazing. If you never heard of that before, take a look at the diminishing robotic hernia surgery. Google that. You'll be amazed. Or better yet, even just thinking about it, pretty soon it'll pop up on your feed. As a matter of fact, now that I've said it to you, I bet you it's going to pop one of those videos up on your YouTube feed. Diminishing robotic hernia surgery. Good Spirit 5999 says, we're already there. Most people don't think for themselves, and they allow machines to do it for them and tell them what to think and do. For example, the media, ChatGPT, so-called experts and gurus, etc. That's probably true. A lot of us do listen to people that we respect, and if one of the people you respect is Dave Ramsey, you're probably going to try your hardest to get debt-free and start saving your money and thinking about your retirement, right? So there are pros to listening to experts, but there are cons. If it means that you stop critical thinking and ultimately stop thinking altogether, and you just allow everybody and anything to lead you. And that's the thing, is eventually we're not going to know if Dave Ramsey's a real person or if he's an artificially generated character. And that's what's so scary about AI. If we keep dumbing ourselves down as a people, and AI keeps making advancements after advancement, then there could be a pretty bleak future where we're just a bunch of worthless blobs. If you're going to be a worthless blob, at least put your shoes on and walk, and while you're at it, hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. Vic, I would like to think that we're smarter now as a society than we were 30, 40, 50 years ago. But how can that possibly be when 30 or 40 years ago, everybody was well-read and well-educated, and now we're all getting to the point where our great game plan for the future is for everybody to go to trade school so they can learn how to become a plumber or an HVAC technician. Think about that. If you had to put into words what the greatest advice for young people is, it's no longer to become a doctor, a lawyer, or a STEAMed professional. It's to become a plumber or an electrician or an HVAC specialist. We're literally already looking at the precipice of the future, and it looks like we're all dumbed down idiots. And don't get me wrong, your plumber, your electrician, and your HVAC specialist, they're not idiots at all. They're doing the smartest move they can make so that they can have a successful future, and they're probably on the right path. But we can't all be plumbers, and we can't all be electricians or HVAC specialists. We've got to figure a way to get off of this dependency we have for all things digital. It's really getting scary. But I think as people, what we can do is we can say, hey, as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to try to use my brain. I'm going to try to use my memory. I'm going to try to come outside, breathe fresh air, and use my legs and exercise. Hey, just speaking of memory, let's try to see if we can remember that toothpaste guy again, okay? So we have a list of 5 items. Toothpaste, and then he's holding a roll of toilet paper with his left hand. That roll of toilet paper is shaped like an egg, right? Because we need to get toilet paper, eggs. On the egg, there's a red color M. What's that M stand for? Not mala. It stands for milk. And then in his other hand, that toothpaste guy is holding a baby pig, which stands for pork chops, right? So we've got pork chops, milk, toilet paper, eggs, and toothpaste. Now imagine if you wanted to add to that list and you wanted to get celery and carrots and ramen noodles. All you have to do is add to the story, and pretty soon you can memorize a list however long. Again, some people might say, Jesse, that was 5 items, that was wimpy. Guys, that's 5 items that you're memorizing that you just came up with, and you're memorizing it to regurgitate it 15 or 20 minutes later. It's powerful. More than anything, it's the way you can slowly but surely develop a better memory. Set your items in your list to a story, and then just close your eyes and tell me what you see. I see a toothpaste guy holding a roll of toilet paper shaped like an egg with a red M on it and a baby pig. That's the picture. That's how you develop your memory according to the Mega Memory Book. The last person here said we really are living in a future nightmare. We really are. But here's the thing. You can go down with the nightmare and just, become a brain dead person, or you can start to develop your brain with these little games, just the way we are developing our health with this little 20 or 30 minute walk. And if we add things to it, the way we add things to that picture of the toothpaste guy, we can all of a sudden become really healthy. So here's my recommendation for you guys. Go ahead and get to the point where you don't stop here. Go take another half-hour walk. Go drink some water. Make today that first day that you join me and decide to ditch the sugar. And I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night.